Nice location I got, huh? This is the west coast of Sardinia. I'm actually in this, what is this? Abandoned old house right on the very coast. And this will be my improvisation of the tripod for today's video. Alright, something like this. So the video is going to be a general advice about traveling around Europe, especially around Mediterranean countries in 2022. A few things that you have to consider. The first point that I'm going to discuss is COVID restrictions. As you know, in most of the countries, they are already lifted. You don't need to wear a mask, except some countries in the public areas. But for example, if you want to take a ferry, as I took the ferry from Albania to Italy, they ask me for certificate. So you need certificate for vaccination, otherwise you cannot board to this ferry. So international flights and ferries are still, there is a still requirement for PCR test or COVID certification to have it. Otherwise you cannot board it. In the local ferries, for example, from Sicily to Sardinia, and from Sardinia to Corsica, I might need it once again because it's a different country, but for the local ferries I don't need anything. Again, in the public areas, even in the ship, they said in the public areas you have to wear a mask, even that many people didn't. It's good to have a mask with you in the case someone asks you to have it. Another case that I've got was in one of the big cathedrals in a town in Sicily. In the cathedral, inside of the cathedral, because it's a public area with many people, they asked me to wear a mask. Otherwise, there are no restrictions as before. It's much easier to travel, but you have to have this in mind. Also, something really interesting that I have experienced is that when you want to plan many places, like I planned Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, it's obvious that for all of this you need ferries, but you have to have in mind that the schedules of the ferries is not always what is convenient to you. For example, the ferry from Sicily, from Palermo to Cagliari, Sardinia, was once per week on Sunday. And because of that, I need to get one ferry from Palermo to Napoli and another ferry from Civitavecchia to Olbia, Sardinia, just because of these changes. And you have to know this in advance, otherwise your trip will be ruined, especially if you are limited with the time. In my case, I'm alright, I have time, but if you have, let's say, 2 weeks holiday, and if you don't plan accordingly, you will lose your time. Another very important point to consider now in 2022 while you travel is that they said that the official inflation is like 10%, but I will say it's around 30% or maybe more. This basically means that everything, petrol, accommodation, food, everything is 30% more. You have to plan more money, and this is not good at all, because if you're on budget, I'm also on budget, this somehow limit myself with many things, and I have to think in advance what is the right way to do. For example, here in Sardinia, I couldn't find hotel less than 80-90 euros. So last night I spent it in the tent. It will be the same in Corsica. I still got my tent, so I'm going to use it once again eventually. But in Italy was fine. You can find good deals with the hotels. But on these islands, it's almost impossible. Also, whatever you stop to eat on the road, it will be like 15 to 20 euro. It's not that cheap. And one advice from me, if you want to travel on budget, just find a local supermarket, buy the stuff from there. You will finish with, let's say, less than 10 euros. If you sit in the restaurant, it will be at least 20. But anyway, it depends of your budget and how you plan to travel and all of this. Anything else at the moment? It's very hot. This is also something that you have to consider. Definitely you'll need a hydration pack, because without it you cannot travel in this area. You can, but you'll risk a lot. Even with the hydration pack, yesterday I spent like, I don't know, many hours riding, many hours, and I got probably around 3 to 4 liters of water from the hydration pack. But even so, during the evening I was so dehydrated that I did not feel really well. Today I will stop more often, because yesterday I've got many days, many hours, like 35, 36, 38 degrees. Yeah, this is something really important to know. You have to be careful, stop more often, refresh yourself, eat something, maybe orange juice, to have some vitamin C and some minerals. And you definitely need to refill yourself all the time, otherwise you're gonna collapse on some stage. This is not a joke. But yes, the journey, it's very interesting so far. Another advice that I can give you now in 2022 is to, when we talk about the budget, the difference between riding with 80-90 kilometers per hour and 120, 30 or maybe 50 per hour is big. So the difference between this and this at the end of your journey will be like 200-300 euros just for petrol. And with these prices of the petrol at the moment, I don't know you, but I will never twist that hard. Even that my motorcycle is very economical, use like 4 liters per 100 kilometers, but it's a big part of the budget, petrol. So for example, last year in Turkey I did the whole trip for 1.5 months for 1,500 euros. Now on this trip only the petrol is like 1,500 euros. It's a big difference. And it's not only the petrol, it's also the fines that you might have on the road. And yeah, it's definitely not worth to travel fast. I was speaking with a friend of mine the other day, and we discussed about riding fast, and he said, who riding fast nowadays with this price of the petrol? So everybody slow down, and this is another thing that you have to keep in mind. Even that on some places you will like to twist, it's again at the end it's about the journey, it's not about the speed. But anyway, it was just a short improvisation and a few ideas to have in mind. Another one, a very interesting point that I experienced here in this area, it was in Italy as well. Most of the small towns and villages, the petrol stations are automatic, which is mean that there are no people there. You have to use your card or cash. If you use your card, it's fine, it's a good option, but it's blocked a big amount of your money, let's say full tank of, let's say 100 euros or something like that. And then you fill your petrol, and when everything is done, the system calculates everything, got the money that you filled, and the rest is released. But it is released after at least 2-3 days, sometimes even weeks. So this is something really interesting to know, because if you travel with a, let's say you put on your card like 300, 400 or 500 euros just to have in case of situations like that, and then 5 days one after another you fill your tank in these petrol stations, and this money will be blocked, and on the 6th day you'll have no money until the first deposit was released. I hope you get it. On these petrol stations, on some of them you can also deposit, let's say 20 euros in cash and fill the petrol with 20 euros instead of keeping 100 euros deposit from your cards. This is something not really convenient, but as I said, it's very difficult to find a normal petrol station with people to pay normally. Also in Italy, in many places they've got this difference. When you go to the petrol station, there are two lines. One is for do it by yourself, and the second is someone to do it for you. And if they do it for you, it costs you 10 cents more per liter, which is very strange. But anyway, I always prefer to make it by myself. It's not about the money, I just know how to do it with my motorcycle. But yes, that's it. If you have any questions about the situation in Europe, traveling around Europe, let me know in the comment section below. I'll try to answer each and every one, but if I don't, just excuse me. Always ride safe, and see you next time. Ciao.